Okay, so I've got a spreadsheet open with those four numbers. I better make sure it's the same four numbers before I do a lot of work. Oops, wrong course. 4846. 4846. Good. So to do with this on a spreadsheet, what I did on my paper, I mean, you probably have watched these videos before, but I want you to make sure to point out the shortcut formula, not so much just doing it by hand with the spreadsheet, but let the spreadsheet calculate the mean and the standard deviation for you. And then there's a bunch of other tools we can use, but this works well because it's free. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find the mean. No, remember I gotta add this. I gotta add these values up, and look, Google Sheets is so smart, isn't it? So we know the sum of those numbers are 22. So then we're gonna do equals to tell it's a formula, and I'm gonna divide by 4 because I see how it clicked on the 22 and it's highlighted, and then that cell is orange and it's got B6. B6 is orange. I'm gonna divide that by 4 because there's 4 numbers, right? So 5.5. I'm glad they're agreeing with my hand calculation. So then I want to take 5.5 away from each of these numbers. So I'm just going to click on then that 4 and we go minus 5.5. Yeah, I could click. You can click on the 5.5, but you're going to lock it in that cell. Sometimes it's easier just to put it in the cell. And then of course Google Sheets is so smart that it just knows that's what I want. So, and then I gotta square each of those values. So I'm glossing over this, but you see what it did is it just filled down, took the next cell B3 and subtracted the mean, and then the next one should be B4 minus the mean. Yeah, what was right here? B4 minus the mean. Okay, so it's pretty cool that it does all that by hand, or it doesn't. We don't have to do it by hand. And then we want to square this, so equals. Click on this, and then when we raised it the second power, because we want to square it. And of course, Google is so smart. It says we want, oh, what's wrong with that? Something not right. Whoop, what did I just do? I get this so zoomed in, it's hard to see. Something not right with my work here. Oh, I see. I don't want that 22. Oof, glad I caught that. All right. And now I want to add up. So then if you remember the formula, let's see, can I write on the screen? I think I can. Remember the formula for the standard deviation is you take each number, subtract the mean from it, you square that, you add up all those squared values, you divide by 1 less than the number of numbers you have. So that's the variance. And then we take the square root to find the standard deviation. And that's a long way. So I'm going to find the sum here. Come back so I can use the spreadsheet. So now I'm going to find the sum of that. So the sum is just for me, which was misspelled. Equals, and I'm going to write the word sum. Oh, look, it already knows what I want. Okay, so that's 11. And so that's the top. That is this 11 is the sum of all those squared differences. Okay, now I'm going to divide by 1 less than the number of numbers I have. So I have 4 numbers, so I'm going to divide by 3. So this is the variance, because this is what we get before we take the square root. That equals that divided by 3. Not whoops. It's a minute here. It's Google's not so sharp this time. Equals, click on the 11 and then divide by 3 because I only have 4 items and 1 less. So that's the variance. And then to get the standard deviation, I'm just going to do equals, start typing SQRT for the square root, and then click on that number and what I got by doing all by hand. So that's cool. Not much different than doing on paper. Let me show you. I want to make sure, because when you guys do the first exam, I'm going to have one part of the exam is you're going to go collect some data. You're going to get some data, and then you're going to calculate the mean and the standard deviation. I don't want you to do all that by hand. People give me work with these 30, because it's got to be 30 pieces of data. Maybe it's 20 pieces of data. And they do all this work for 20 pieces of data. And that's not what I'm expecting here. I mean, as long as you understand where it's coming from, let's use the tools to do it. So I'm just going to come over here, write mean for myself, and then write standard deviation. That's just for me as a human. And then what I'm gonna do equals average, because that's how you get a spreadsheet, do the average, the mean. And I just select those cells. You see what it's doing? So that's 5.5. That agrees. No, I don't want to autofill. Now I'm going to do equals. And then there's a couple of different kind of standard deviations. If you use an Excel, they give you a bunch of, they say this is archaic. This is the old one. But I just want the standard deviation of those four numbers. I like that. And notice that's exactly what I got here with a whole heck less effort. So that's what I want you to do in the exam. I don't want you to have to do it by hand. Okay, whether you use this or a graphing calculator or some kind of tool online, there's a ton of them online that'll do this for you. Because with the more interesting part is comparing it. So that's where we're going to go. That's where we're going to go next week when we start looking at the histograms and stuff. Okay, so hopefully this helps.